Good afternoon, King. How are you?
Good afternoon, Dana. I am wonderful. And how are you?
Well, I'm great. We've missed this conversation because you are on a wonderful retreat in
In
Mexico.
Mexico, yeah.
I know, and I saw these beautiful pictures of the sea, and you guys doing some incredible exercises and meditation. And I heard that trip was really successful.
It was amazing. We had a full turnout for the retreat. It was sold out, but we had so much fun together. We all grew in spiritual consciousness, and we really shared some amazing times and experiences together. It was wonderful. Thanks so much.
That's great. That's great, King. And I really feel that these the souls that you are with are really truly lucky to have been, in your presence and with Tara. So possibly maybe at the end of this session you can let our listeners, welcome listeners again, know how to get in touch with you, because I know you have another one coming up in January.
In January we have one again. Yeah.
Now, one thing that, we had some phone conversations, but unfortunately you had some technical difficulties, so we couldn't record.
Indeed.
But one thing that was coming up with me and my, in my world, with connecting to people that I know are very dear to my heart, and I noticed a lot of it going around, was on relationships.
Yes, indeed.
And King, I'm really blessed. With my personal relationship, I feel really blessed that I am in this position of love. And I came to this position after having really connected with you and being guided into this realm. So I know I know really well what that is like, is to struggle in your relationship, in any relationship. And honestly, the reason I phoned you is because it's not just about the relationship with, your partner, your husband, your wife. It could be your daughter, your son, your aunt, uncle, neighbor, friendship. It could be anything.
Yes.
And how we're going to start, friends today is I was yelling at, and I want to share with you a kind of a poem or just some thoughts that I had. I was yelling at my daughter, who's 13 years old. Yeah. And it just, I felt, if you're a mom watching, or a dad, you can really relate to this. You just feel awful when it's quiet. Yeah. After you're done yelling, and it's about cleaning the room or something ridiculous, or it could be something even big that you perceive as big. Yeah. You just feel terrible after it. And I started questioning myself, saying, why am I yelling? Why do I yell? And this is the poem, King, or, that, and the thoughts that I came up with. So funny how we ask for what we really want. Yep. When we yell, it's really because we want to be heard.
Indeed.
When we fight, it's really because we're scared. Mm-hmm. When we're sad, it's really because we miss the experience of happy. Mm. When we resist each other, it's really because we crave to come together. When we're silent, it's really because we want to be free. Mm. When we hate, it's really because we want acceptance. When we push somebody away, all we really want is to be held like a child.
Indeed.
And when we put others down, it's really because we wish for our souls to grow.
Yes.
So I read this to you, and I recognized that I wanted to be heard. So do you have any feedback on this?
I love all that you've said thus far. It's just amazing how all this wraps together, and it's like a really nice package. Because it begins with that relationship that you were speaking about in the beginning. The relationship of not necessarily the girlfriend, boyfriend, or husband, wife, or whatever that type of relationship is, but a relationship with everyone, the relationship with the universe, as we call it, or with source, the source of being. And in that relationship, there is an accurate response to the interaction that that being would display, right? They always react appropriately is what I'm saying. Through us, through our consciousness, we already know how they're going to react even before we already know how they're going to react even before it happens. That's really what happens in it, right? So if we view them correctly, we perceive them correctly, then what we're saying to them through our being is, this is who you're going to be. We choose light, we choose love, we choose whatever, and whoever it is we're interacting with, we see that, we bring that forth in them through our consciousness, right? And that's what we're kind of taxed with in relationship. And I know taxed with might sound like a bad way to put that, but we're charged with that because we're the ones that are responsible for what we see all the time, every single time. And that's in all our relationships. So by perceiving correctly, by seeing them correctly, by treating them correctly as a result of our perception, we're going to receive that in the reflection, right?
Hey, how do you perceive someone correctly?
Lovely. Good question. And I'm going to get back to yelling right after this because that's another tab that's popping up in me right now. But the the perceiving correctly part, if we look on what their body is doing, whether it's doing what we want or what we don't want to do or whatever it is, then we're already on a path that's going to lead us to misperceiving, because they are not limited to a body, just like we're not limited to a body. The correct perception of a being is that being, if you can, this is the closest one that helps, if you can perceive that being as pure, radiating, beautiful light in your mind, then you are perceiving them close to correctly or in a right-minded state. Right? What that does is whatever their body is doing, it doesn't matter. You just have this love for them in your heart that's flowing through, that just wants to share with them, just wants to express love to them. And in your wanting to express that to them, they feel that. They feel that and they respond to that. They know that you have love for them. And that is what perceiving correctly does and how we do it. So again, to straighten that up, it's perceiving the light within every being and everything you see. The light and the good. That is proper perception.
That's always, I mean, going back to the yelling, it is very challenging when, you see, I mean, as a parent, I'm certainly guilty of this, is, I want the best for my children. I want, my concern is that, to prepare them for a good life, a successful life, a healthy life. And so when there's something that needs correcting, I always go to my comfort, to what I know in the world, which is, okay, you're not listening, so maybe I need to be louder.
Exactly. You just nailed it. And that's what I wanted to bring up right now. You're so on it. It's awesome. You're amazing, Dana. Amazing. You say exactly the right thing.
I'm just going crazy here.
Because when you really think about it, just for a second, when we yell at people, we yell because we feel the distance between us is greater. So we're trying to reach to them because they feel so far.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah,
so
now I'm yelling, sorry.
Exactly. So in our mind, we equate, right, distance in terms of relationship to space. And so we actually think in our minds, we don't think about it consciously, right? But underneath, we get that feeling like we have to shout to reach them. We have to shout like, hear me, listen to me, because you have to shout to them. Right? Because of the distance created. And that's what happens when our relationships start to fizzle and we feel further and further apart. Yeah.
Okay, so what about then, King? I mean, because something just came up with me.
Yeah.
This distance also, you feel it when you're ignoring one another.
Yes, you do. Because that's the true distance. The distance is not a physical quantity, right? Distance and time are the same thing, by the way, but I wouldn't go into that right now. But the distance that we experience is not really a physical quantity. We get to see it as a physical quantity here, but it's really the closeness or
of the souls.
Yeah,
souls.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
If the souls are close and the consciousnesses align, right? Then there will be that much distance, and then you talk to each other lovingly because you're so close that you don't need to shout. Lovers whisper in each other's ears, don't they? They're there and they're like, baby, I love you. You know, and you speak to her in that loving tone because you feel that and you feel close. But when that distance starts getting created, where the thoughts, the difference in the thoughts seems to be pulling people apart, like you and your daughter may have different thought systems right now. She may believe, you know, she's a teen, right? Teens have their own world, right? And they're developing more of a personality.
Developing, yes. I have to remember that.
Yep.
No, I do. I mean, she's a really loving soul, and so are, you know, the thing is, like you said, King, if I were to see, and honestly, I missed her so incredibly much the few hours that she was at school that day. Yeah. Even though I take her to school every day and it's the same distance, but that day, I missed her terribly. You know, it was almost like she was much further away. Exactly. What you were saying about the distance. Now, what about the stubbornness, like, of staying in that state? So
the stubbornness for who?
Well, I'm going to use me as an example.
Yeah.
If I were not to see my daughter as a soul, or if I were not to see my husband as a soul, and I'd be like, you know what, this is not working, and I create more distance.
That's okay, perfectly.
I'm sorry. I create more distance because that's what I'm perceiving. Yeah. Will help the relationship. Like, I want her to come and talk to me, so I'm just gonna keep yelling, or I want her to love me, actually, so I'm gonna yell and be nasty. Yeah. So she can come and say, no, mommy, I really love you. Or I want my husband to speak to me, so I'm gonna keep ignoring him so he can come.
Well, that creates greater distance, actually. The only way that ever works is if one of the souls involved is evolved enough to be willing to give it up, to give up whatever that thing is and come back either way. Right? And this is part of a conscious relationship, if we're talking about two beings. A real conscious relationship in terms of communication, the best way to resolve anything would be you get together and one person has, like, you time it. You actually time it. You give them about 10 minutes to just speak their mind completely without reacting to anything they say, without judging anything they say. Just let them speak, right? After they've finished speaking completely, without any reaction or any say from the other side, you let that 10 minutes run out completely. And then the other person has 10 minutes to speak fully and feel listened to. Just listen. Right? No remarks, no trying to correct anything, just so that they feel heard and they get to speak their mind, even if what they say seems to be totally off or wrong. Just have them have that time to stream, right? In that way, both parties feel heard, right? And then you can actually come back to being a little closer, right? Mm-hmm. But if you try to do it the other way, where you try to either make distance or do all these different things and play those games, they always end up spurring on into a different set of arguments, and they come back later on to be dealt with yet again. Like, they'll be forgotten temporarily, just shoved in the back, and then sometime later on when you're having a conversation, weeks later or ever, they'll be like, remember that time, this, that,
yes.
You know?
Yes,
so
yes.
It's never gone unless you get the chance to vent it, right? And the motivation, just to be clear on this, the motivation for doing that really is this.
Yes.
If we ever hold a grudge against anybody, as the beings we are, or we're upset or feeling disconnected or deliberately disconnecting, we're not able to see ourselves anymore. Because we see ourselves through everything around us. So we need to perceive them correctly for us to see ourselves correctly. We cannot see our radiant, beautiful soul if we are looking at others incorrectly, because they are part of that radiant, beautiful spirit and soul as one. We are one. So if you were to really sit down and meditate and have a vision of what your soul were to look like, which would not be the soul itself, just a vision of it, you would see a big, lovely light radiating from the center to everything. When you are upset with somebody, you start to get dark places in that. You start to see dark spots, and you feel that when you're meditating. So it's important then to keep that clean by keeping everybody blessed and in our circle at all times, not away from us, because we can't get rid of them ever. They're always in our mind and therefore have a place within us. Yeah.
That's really clear. That's really, really clear. So what we should be working towards is clearing our space.
Exactly.
So light can always shine through.
Exactly.
And our aura can shine through.
Pretty much.
Shine through a cloudy space.
Yep.
And I really believe that, the struggle is because, our ego is taking over and saying, no, you're going to get hurt. No, don't do that because you're going to get hurt. And our minds actually really believe that they're protecting us.
Exactly. That's the ego's purpose. It's
meant
to protect the individual, right? It's not a bad thing, really. It's just that's what it's meant to do, and it's doing it well.
See, that's really funny that you should say that, because sometimes I used to struggle so much with my mind. I'm like, I wish I could take my mind out.
No, you don't want to do that.
And sit it down and have a fight with it and hash it out.
Yeah.
And when you taught me, it was more that you're like, Dana, your mind is there to protect you.
As an individual.
As an individual. It really thinks that it's doing that.
Yeah.
And that's why there's always this struggle within ourselves. Like we think that, no, I'm going to ignore her, I'm going to ignore him, or I'm going to make her pay.
Exactly.
Or I'm going to make him pay, this revenge whole thing.
Yeah.
Is to be protected.
Yeah.
But protected from what?
That's it right there. Yep. Protected from what? Correct.
Yeah.
If everything is one, then what are you being protected from? Why do you need to be?
Well, here's what I think.
Yeah.
And please correct me.
Yeah.
I think that the ego wants the status quo.
Uh-huh.
The status quo is that I am not worthy of being truly loved.
Yes.
Or I'm not worthy of a real mother-daughter relationship.
Yep.
Or I'm not worthy of, having a real amazing job, that I love. I'm not worthy of that. So I'm just going to stick to my cubicle, stick to my yelling, stick to, everybody get lost.
Yep. It keeps you safe, right? It keeps you safe because you know that world already. And the unknown scares it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right?
And what am I going to do if I'm really loved this much?
It's scary.
I'm going to have to change.
Yeah. It actually is quite scary. And that's the thing. The purpose of the experience is that you change, right? You are to change to become the fully expressed being or the soul being that you are. You have to express the qualities of your soul. And if expressing the qualities of your soul mean that you have to change and mean you have to be different, then the ego, which is the opposite of that, maintaining the individual as is in a safe spot, will always struggle against that. It will try to make that not happen. So any positive change that is about to happen, it will attempt to sabotage. But not because it's mean. It's only because it sees you as this individual who needs to be maintained as this individual without any change at all. No change. That's it.
Wow, that's very powerful. But the great thing is, King, that if you allow that change to happen, you really take your mind out and say, you know what? I'm doing it anyway. I'm loving anyway.
Yeah.
I'm forgiving anyway.
Yep.
I'm going to quit anyway.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Let's see what's
Anyway.
going to happen.
Exactly.
What actually happened in my experience is that people that I really felt there was no way this human is going to be anything close to what I want started to become.
Yes.
And, in adapting, I mean, even with my daughter, I know that I was yelling.
Yeah.
But when I missed her, I've never missed her so much.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because I then, you discover the true essence of love.
Yes.
Which is, it's bigger than an ocean. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So try it. If you're out there, and I mean, we feel you. King's been there.
Yep,
right?
definitely.
Yeah.
That's
And I've been there, and we all, I think the foundation of this experience of struggle is growth.
Yes, always.
Necessary. And it means like a snake, you know, you need to get rid of the skin.
Yep, you have to shed.
And I don't know if snakes go through any pain when they shed their skin.
No, it's a easy process for them.
Well, you know, and it should be for us, you know,
Yes,
but
it is as well.
we need to shed of the skin, get rid of it, and come into this new realm, space, light that we are meant and naturally meant to be in, you know, and that's what feels right and feels good, and that's the state that feels natural.
Indeed. And
Yeah.
the conditions around us are really meant to spur on our growth as well, right? I usually call on there's this saying about a diamond, and if a coal is put under pressure basically in the earth, it eventually becomes a diamond, right? The pressure of the earth squeezes it and makes it go under these harsh conditions, very harsh conditions for the coal. The coal dies in a sense because it's crushed in a sense and compressed, right, under immense pressure. But eventually it becomes a diamond, right?
Yes.
A diamond can withstand anything. That is our soul. Our soul is that diamond that can withstand anything. But we do go through the conditions as the coal, the shedding of the ego qualities or the egoic qualities to lead us towards becoming the full expression of that soul.
I actually, I love that analogy, King. And when you told me that, I was like, that is fantastic. And what's interesting about that is that the earth does not perceive the pressure to be something bad.
Exactly.
You say, oh my God, this is terrible. I'm suffering. I don't want to do this.
Exactly.
It does it because it allows the natural forces to go through the process.
Exactly.
Let it go.
Let
it go through the pressure. Let it go.
And we can do the
we're
same.
not falling apart, and this pressure's happening right underneath us as we're speaking.
Yeah. We can do the same. Amazing.
So that's awesome.
Yeah. I think
our advice today is that if you're struggling, right, King, it's like,
yes,
let it go.
Let it go. Indeed. Let it go. I love that. That was a wonderful session. And I want to touch again on the upcoming events that we are going to have.
Awesome.
Okay, so there's the Soul Awakening Retreat, which is going to be January 2016, from the 16th to the 23rd at the Amansala Retreat Center in Tulum, Mexico. And if you want more information about that, just log on to my Facebook, King Gabriel Quincy Collymore, or you can check out the website, taraantler.com. That's my wife. And she has the retreats listed there as well. And that's what's happening right now in this world. Dana?
That's awesome, King. I don't know if you can maybe write it down, under the messages there.
I will. I'll do that.
Yeah, because it looked fantastic. And, you know, I was really pleased to see, you know, the pictures, and also to hear, you know, when you came back to say that, you know, a lot of people on the retreat were actually going through the same type of thing that I was experiencing, you know, with my friends and my circle. And they came out of it. You were saying, you know, how did they come out of it? Did they feel like, you know, transformation?
Well, that's the thing. We really delve deep into some spiritual work there, right? And people shed a lot. Like you were talking about the skin, there was a lot of shedding that happened, but the space was held for them to do that as well and to move through that with love. And they moved through so quickly. They all came out beaming, smiling, actually radiating the essence, you know. So it was a wonderful experience and really fulfilling and spiritually uplifting for everybody that was there. In fact, the people from this retreat want to come to the next retreat as well. So it's like, it was that great, right? So, yeah.
Well, one thing to say is that, you know, even I've talked to a lot of people doing this work, and honestly, some people feel that, you know, well, if I'm going to go on this retreat, then, you know, well, after the retreat, then it's going to go away. It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't. This work always stayed with me.
Yes.
And it's almost like my dictionary in my soul. Like every time I'm like, okay, let me go to page and look it up. And I stumble. Yeah. But what's nice is that when I stumble, I'm not lost.
Yes, indeed.
I know, okay, I need to go back to my meditation. I need to go back to my work. I need to go back to thinking, why is my mind behaving this way? Yeah. And kind of knock, knock, what's going on? Indeed. So yeah, King, I'm glad that you gave that information. And it was a pleasure speaking to you again. And, you know, I'm reaching out to everybody, and it's a pleasure to see you. And thank you for watching. And, you know, I'm sending you all the love and light. And if you're going through any kind of knots in your stomach or knots in your mind,
yes.
My one thing coming from my soul, heart to heart, is let it go and let nature, let the universe, God, take the lead on this one.
Yes.
And let your soul take the lead on this one. And the result will be just as you want it.
Indeed. Love that. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to contact us as well on Asking, which is the Facebook page, a public group where everyone can come in and ask all questions, and I answer them personally. So yes. You'll be getting that. Okay. Thank you so much, Dana.
This was a wonderful pleasure. Take care. Okay. Talk soon.
Love and infinite peace. Thank you.